The winter meetings are underway, and we've got a little more clarity from President of Baseball Operations, John Mozeliak, about the future of Nolan Arenado.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X, at JD Sports Radio, and the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We're also available on YouTube. If you haven't joined us there yet, please do me a solid, stop on by, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you don't miss a single episode, because this is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So the Cardinals had a relatively slow day one at the winter meetings in Dallas, and in all honesty, it was kind of a slow day for the league all around. Not a whole lot of really breaking news. Kind of hard to follow up on the Juan Soto signing with anything else that would make much of a ripple through the baseball news circuit. So not a whole lot went down on Monday. Perhaps business will pick up here on this Tuesday. Most reporters are still just talking about this massive 15-year, $765 million deal that Soto signed with the Mets, as they should. I mean, it's a record-setting deal that had everyone's head kind of spinning like, wow, I can't believe it got up to that. But now that Soto was signed, teams are starting to move on to whatever plans they had in the background in case they weren't the team that ended up landing him. So obviously the Mets will move forward, trying to find different pieces to fill out their rotation, which is, in my opinion, what is really the biggest concern for them right now. But then you've got all the other teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Red Sox and all these other guys that were rumored to be in on them, the Blue Jays, who will have to go elsewhere to find whatever it is they need that they think will bring them a world championship. The Cardinals still have some very interesting trade pieces. Nolan Arenado, though, has been the biggest talking point and the biggest topic of discussion so far is as far as like what with anything having to do with the Cardinals. As we've mentioned in previous shows, the Cardinals are reportedly leaning towards hanging on to closer Ryan Helsley now. So if he's off the table, which I don't think he's off the table, but I don't think they're as desperate to move on from him. It's just trying to pick up off the vibe that I'm getting from the reports out there. It feels like it's, unless they're blown away by a particular deal, that they don't feel like they have to move on from Ryan Helsley right now. But trading Nolan Arenado does appear to be something that is eventually going to happen. We got some quotes from President of Baseball Operations, John Mozeliak, on Monday. He was all over the place doing interviews with the media. So I've got some quotes and some stuff here from a number of different sources. Jeff Jones at the Belleville News-Democrat, Katie Wu from The Athletic, Derek Gould at STL Today, on the subject of dealing away the Cardinals' future Hall of Fame third baseman. They were all in when John Mozeliak was talking. So here are some of the quotes from Mo. He said, "These decisions are not something we ever take lightly, but when you understand really the profile of what this team looks like after meeting with Arenado in Colorado, ultimately, he's not demanding a trade. He's not telling me I have to do it. But I think in the best interest of both sides, I'd like to find him someplace. It is my intention to try. From a financial standpoint, we are trying to move our payroll. There are certainly other ways we can do this, but moving Arenado would be a big help. It's mostly financial, but it also creates runway for someone else." Now, when he's talking about someone else, what he's saying there, the runway thing, is it allows a position to open up for other guys to play. We brought this up before. The Cardinals have guys who can play third base. They've got Nolan Gorman, who came up as a third baseman because Arenado was, entrenched at the third base spot. He learned how to play second base. But he's got the arm of a third baseman. That's what he was used to. So that would be a solution of finding Nolan Gorman a spot. Brendan Donovan can also play third base. He can pretty much do anything you want defensively. So Donovan's a name. Thomas Ajacey, although he doesn't have the arm that you would like to see over at third base, sometimes you just, if you got to get his bat in the lineup, and by all reports, that's something they want to do. There's nothing for him to prove at the AAA level, and to just have him sitting on the bench most games feels like kind of a waste, doesn't it? So Sajasi, somebody who could also play some third base. And all of them, here's the important part, all of them are at a fraction of the cost of what it is costing to pay Nolan Arenado to play at third base. Now, as far as the timeline for a deal to be completed, Mo said he didn't expect anything to get done by the end of the winter meetings, which will wrap up on Wednesday, but that a trade could happen within the next few weeks. The quote here says, I'm trying to keep him in the loop on how we're thinking through it and how we're doing it, but nothing has been written in stone yet. We both remain optimistic that both parties will end up happy somehow. Now, if this is the end of the Arenado era in St. Louis, it's hard to not feel disappointed about it. It really is. Getting him was such a big move, and it seemed like he was the missing piece to putting the team over the top again, and it just never came to fruition. I don't think many of us saw his play, specifically offensively, tailing off as quickly as it has over the last couple of years. I thought Nato was going to be one of the top sluggers in baseball until he was like 35 years old. I'm sure the Cardinals felt the same way. He did have some personal success defensively. Obviously, he's always been very, very good. A couple of gold gloves, a couple of platinum gloves since he's been with St. Louis, an all-star 3 times. He won a Silver Slugger award and had a top 3 finish in the MVP race back in 2022, losing to Paul Goldschmidt that year. And after 2022, things just have not gone well for this franchise or Nolan and Arenado personally as far as his play on the field. The team didn't win one single playoff game with Arenado on their roster, which seems crazy, but it's true. They got bounced by the Dodgers in that wild card game on that Chris Taylor home run in 2021. Then they got swept by the Phillies in 2022. Best 2 out of 3. They lost 2 in a row at home, and have yet to make it back to the postseason the last couple seasons. And in those games that they did make it to the playoffs, you can point at Nolan Arenado's lack of production in those games as part of the problem. Those 3 postseason games that he played, he went 1 for 12, had 1 run scored. That was it. Just nothing offensively. And it's hard to sugarcoat stats like that. There's no real way to look at it like, oh, well, but if you do. No, that's just not good. It's just not good. And things just did not work out the way everyone thought they would. It happens. It happens. So what are the teams that are being mentioned in the latest trade rumors? We've got since the Juan Soto signing, we've got kind of an updated look on things as far as what teams would be interested in Nolan Arenado still. So we'll tackle that question next on Locked On Cardinals. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, and they do it all in one place. I don't know if you're watching Monday Night Football last night, stayed up for that one, and I tell you what, man, it is shocking to see that the Cincinnati Bengals are 5-8, considering what Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have done this year offensively. Joe Burrow tops in the league in passing yards and passing touchdowns. Jamar Chase leads in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns, and yet they are 5-8. But you could just tell that they were on last night. So when a hunch like that comes upon you in the middle of a game, you're like, dude, Jamar Chase about to go off. That's when you go over to the FanDuel Sportsbook app and you use that hunch. Okay, so you can you go to their app and you can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play and so much more right there on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can leave comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter X anytime you want. That feedback always welcome and encouraged. Leave your thoughts on trading away Nolan Arenado. What kind of stuff are you expecting to get back? That's really the issue here. Is first, there's not a lot of places that Nolan wants to go. And, of course, the Cardinals want to get something decent back. According to Derek Gould at STLtoday.com, the Cardinals have approached around 5 teams to discuss trading for Arenado. In that select group, he says the Yankees and at least one other club were courting Juan Soto before entertaining other moves. The Padres and also Dodgers are 2 other clubs that fit the profile of teams the Cardinals have been contacting. The Boston Red Sox have been rumored as a team that might have some interest in Nolan. It would require them to kind of move some things around because they got that one guy, Rafael Devers, pretty darn good hitter, right? Over at third base, although he's brutal defensively, which is something I would assume Boston would love to upgrade at and have Nolan Arenado over there. The chat has been that, hey, maybe Devers could go to first base, but then you've got Tristan Casas over at first base. So that's a whole bunch of problems that the Boston Red Sox would have to figure out if they indeed had interest in trading for Nolan Arenado. Former Cy Young winner Jake Peavy from MLB Network proposed a hypothetical trade between the Cardinals and Boston, with Arenado going to Beatontown and then St. Louis getting their number 5 prospect and right-handed pitcher Richard Fitz, their number 13 prospect and outfielder Miguel Blais, I think is how they say it, and Major League outfielder DH Masataka Yoshida. Now, Yoshida is not a big guy by any means. Yoshida's a 5'8", 192 pounds, 31 years old now. Was used primarily as a DH last year, hit 280, 10 home runs, and 56 ribbies in 108 games with an OPS plus of 112. Underwent labral surgery in his right shoulder back in October, but all reports say that he is expected to be back and ready for opening day. The year before that, in his first year with Boston and here in the States, hit 289 with 15 home runs and 72 RBIs in 140 games, the OPS plus of 109. He is under contract for 3 more years of a 5-year, $90 million deal that he signed with the Red Sox when he came from Japan. Roughly around $18 million per year is what he's expected to get paid. It's a lot of money for a guy that Boston did not trust to be in the outfield anymore. It was basically just a DH. So that's I don't know about that. Fitz, a 6th-round pick by the Yankees, came to Boston in the Alex Verdugo trade. 24 years old, made 4 major league starts last year. He went 0-1, 1.74 ERA. According to his scouting report, his fastball sits around 92 to 95, but he can peak at 98. And according to the scouts here, highest ceiling among Boston's pitching prospects right now, decent bet to fit into the back of the rotation or as a multi-inning reliever. As for, I think it's Blais, could be Blease, either way. According to MLB Pipeline, he was the top signing in Boston's 2020-2021 international class, earned $1.5 million bonus on the basis of his electric bat speed and potential to become a 5-tool center fielder. Already has jaw-dropping raw power at age 20, thanks to his bat speed, still developing strength and the loft and leverage in his right-handed swing. He already has gained 20 pounds since turning pro and could lose a bit of quickness as he continues to add muscle, but even so, his instincts will enable him to continue to be an asset as a runner and defender. Looks to make things happen on the bases and makes good reads in center field. Center field is a position where you've got Michael Ciani, you've got Victor Scott II. You're always willing to upgrade certain positions if you can do that. You've got Lars Nootbaar, who could play center field this year as well. So, but again, he's 20. 2 stops at A and high A last year, hit a combined 220, 11 home runs and 47 RBIs in 95 games. Going through kind of the comments under the post here about this trade for MLB Network, most people on both sides of the fence think that this is not a very reasonable deal. Cardinals fans don't think the team is interested in swapping Nato for a bad contract like Yoshida's. Meanwhile, the Red Sox aren't sold on Nolan Arenado's offensive decline the last couple seasons, but they do like the fact that he is a major upgrade over Devers defensively at third base. I tend to agree with the people who are writing, hey, why would the Cardinals want a bad contract? Like, why would we do that? Why would the Cardinals want to take on a deal for a guy who is way overpaid and doesn't offer all that much? I've seen the talk about, what if Arenado was traded to the Dodgers and the Dodgers sent Chris Taylor back in exchange so they can wipe out that bad contract? Like, why would the Cardinals want to pay these guys? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're going to pay a guy, they would just keep Arenado and pay him. I was like, why would they want to take on money? Sure, they would save some, but like, it's not, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to do that. My guess is, sure, they're going to be willing to eat some money by trading Nolan Arenado, which seems to be something that everybody's agreeing on, that's going to have to happen. But I wouldn't want to pay somebody else's bad contract just to move Arenado and save a few $1 million, unless you were dropping some very top high quality prospects in return. But still, at the same time, I just don't see the Cardinals wanting to do that. As far as those Dodgers rumors go, by the way, because we've all been talking about Nolan Arenado for the last week or so and him dropping hints about going to LA and playing for the Dodgers. Their GM, Brandon Gums, actually was quoted as praising their current third baseman, who is Max Muncy, who is a very productive hitter when he's healthy. On Monday, he was talking to LA-based reporters and appeared to shut down the idea of actually bringing in someone new to play over at third base. Here's the quote. Muncy is going to play third base for us. He's such a big piece of what we do and has been a staple. So, yeah, Max is playing third base. That was something I brought up too. Is like, where is the room for Nolan Arenado on that team anyway? Max Muncy, who was playing a little bit of second base, but, healthy. They've got, the Mookie Betts looks like he's coming back to the infield again. Like, I don't think they need Nolan Arenado. They might like him and be like, yeah, he's cool. But I don't see where the actual need to go get Nolan Arenado is. Just because he wants to play there doesn't mean the other team is like, hell yeah, come on over. But we'll see what happens. Now, here's another question that was brought up. Would the Cardinals be willing to bring Arenado back if they don't find a good fit? And apparently that's not out of the realm of possibilities either. When asked if there was a possibility that Arenado could report to spring training still a Cardinal, Mozeliak said yes, but added, I'm not sure that puts us exactly where we want to be. So as I've mentioned before, you've got the no trade clause hurdle to deal with. Plus, we still don't know where the top free agent third baseman Alex Bregman is going just yet. I have not seen an update on anything with Bregman yet. Obviously things can change minute by minute, but I haven't seen anything yet. Most of the teams who would like an upgrade at third base are probably going to talk to Alex Bregman first. And as soon as that is over with and he signs with whoever he signs with, then these other teams, then it comes down to the next level, which in my opinion is Nolan Arenado. But the sooner Bregman signs with someone, the sooner a deal probably gets done with one of those other teams that have shown interest in Nolan. So just got to kind of wait. I don't want to say the P word. I don't want to say the Mo P word. Patience, just a little patience. Like, I don't want to do that, but that's kind of where we are right now because Nolan Arenado is not the top of the pecking order of players that people are trying to acquire right now. We're going to take a look around the league next, including an AL Central team that could be interested in former Cardinals first baseman Paul Goldschmidt. This is Locked On Cardinals. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you the daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on all the teams during this offseason. You can find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. So according to MLB Network's John Morosi, the Detroit Tigers have interest in former Cardinal first baseman Paul Goldschmidt. The first base market has not really gotten going yet. You still got, the polar bear, Pete Alonso, who is out there. Christian Walker, the guy who replaced Paul Goldschmidt in Arizona and has won a few Gold Gloves, is still available as well. So, again, Goldie not at the top of the pecking order of first baseman that people are trying to get their hands on. MLB trade rumors, Mark Polishuk says that acquiring Goldschmidt isn't the type of blockbuster move it would have been just a few years ago, as the veteran is coming off the first true middling season of his long career with his strikeout, walk, and chase rates all well below the league average, but says there is reason for optimism and points out that most of Goldie's struggles were in the first half of last year. Ended up hitting 271 in the second half in 250 plate appearances. And we do remember that Goldie started to heat up a little bit at the end of August, and then September, you really started he looked more like the Goldie of old. But, I mean, I don't know how you can look at hey, he had a good 3 or 4 weeks and then look at the rest of his season where he was terrible and go, but we believe in that small sample size compared to what happened the rest of the season. He points out that Goldie, when he did make contact, hit the ball very, very hard, had strong barrel rates and a hard hit ball rate that ranked in the 92nd percentile of all batters. But again, the strikeouts and the swing and misses, they're all going up, and they continue to go up for Goldie each year. The Tigers also have former number 1 overall pick Spencer Torkelson, who it looked like he was going to have a big year last year and took a major step back, ended up getting sent down last year. He's still, I would assume, penciled in at first base for the Tigers. So not sure how they would maneuver that situation. Maybe one of them becomes a DH, but not my problem. Not my problem. If that's the route they want to take, that's on you, Detroit, to figure it out. Obviously, we do wish Goldie the best wherever he ends up landing, as long as he's not beating our Cardinals, right? Starting pitching market continues to become more and more expensive, with guys signing well above their projections thus far. You still got huge names out there: Corbin Burns, Max Fried. Then you come down a level where, Jack Flaherty is there. Walker Buehler, who was one of the best pitchers in baseball till the injuries caught up with him. Nathan Eovaldi, another former Cardinal. Jose Quintana, still out there. Sean Manaea had a huge year with the Mets. You've also got former Cy Young winners Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, who, from all reports, still want to pitch, and they're looking for homes right now. But with prices, as far as free agent money going, the levels are quite high. I wonder if more teams might give the Cardinals a call about players like Eric Fetty and Miles Mikolas and Steven Matz. If they're just looking for back of the rotation kind of guys, they're not trying to sign any of these free agents because it's too expensive. Next best thing is to trade for some of these guys. And Fetty, Mikolas, and Matz all have 1 year remaining on their deals. So it's not like they would be locked in any long-term commitments, and they would get, Fetty was pretty good last year for the White Sox, had a couple of good starts with the Cardinals, obviously didn't live up to the expectations we were hoping when he came over. Mikolas, he had a lot of quality starts last year, led the team in quality starts, but obviously is one of the more hittable pitchers in the game. And Steven Matz, you keep him on the field, he's not so shabby, but that's the difficult part about that. The White Sox, Garrett Crochet is a name that continues to be bounced around on the trade block, but I thought I saw something where the White Sox GM is like, we're not actively trying to trade anybody at the moment. Okay. But there have been other names because of the rise in cost for starting pitching, that other names on other teams who have expiring contracts soon could be made available. The names of the Astros' Framber Valdez and Padres' Dylan Cease were brought up by MLB.com's Mark Feinsand, along with the Mariners' Luis Castillo, the Marlins' Jesus Luzardo, and also the Cardinals' Sonny Gray. But Gray has the no-trade clause. He's the only one in that grouping that does have a no-trade clause. And as far as I've heard, nothing has changed about his desire to stay with the Cardinals in 2025. That's what he wants to do. Could things change down the road? Sure, I guess. But as of right now, Sonny Gray is going to be in St. Louis next year. So, but those other names, obviously, some pretty big names there. So we'll see how the trade market fluctuates here in the near future. Speaking of pitchers, according to Derek Gould, the Cardinals have signed right-handed pitcher Yan Ewing Cabrera, who was a 19-year-old who was a member of Cuba's national team in 2022 and a standout or their under 18 team with a sub 0.30 ERA that season, received a $250,000 bonus. And the MLB Draft Lottery is taking place tonight or this afternoon, depending on where you live. 4:30 p.m. St. Louis time is when that'll take place, and you can watch that on the MLB Network. Third year of the lottery during the winter meetings to determine the top of the draft order. All non-playoff teams are entered into this lottery for the top 6 picks. This year, 16 of those 18 teams are eligible for the lottery, including the Cardinals, who have a very slim 0.82% shot at the number 1 overall pick. The White Sox and the A's are not eligible to get the top pick. 2 teams that could really use that number 1 pick, and they're ineligible to win it this year. So the Rockies have the highest percentage at 22.45, followed by the Marlins, the Angels, Nationals, and then the Blue Jays. Last year, the Guardians won the lottery despite having just a 2% odds of doing so, and ended up selecting Travis Bazzana out of Oregon State with that number 1 overall pick. So, yeah, we're telling you there's a chance the Cardinals could get it. It's not a big chance, but it's a possibility. So 4:30 p.m. St. Louis time if you're interested in watching that. And also a little bit of news, World Series hero David Freese will be joining the Cardinals staff as a guest coach in spring training this year. So kind of cool seeing David Freese get back in the fold after all these years. So there you go. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like, subscribe on YouTube, and help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. Again, any updates that go down at the winter meetings, obviously follow us on Twitter X. We'll get you posted there. We'll also throw up some videos and stuff, some video shorts with information on any major moves that might take place involving the Cardinals. So keep your eyes open for it. You're the best fans in baseball for a reason, and I'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.